Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something you might not expect, diving into the recent Q3 earnings call for L&T Technology Services, LTTS for short. They're a big player in that whole engineering and R&D space, but I think what's so cool about this is we get a peek behind the curtain. How's a big tech company really thinking about the future?
Yeah, this isn't some polished press release. This is straight from the horse's mouth. Leadership talking to investors, analysts laying it all out. The good, the bad, the future.
Okay, so unpack this a bit, right? First off, LTTS, they had a killer Q3, blew past all those revenue expectations. Seems like a big chunk of that was just massive deals they closed.
It's crazy. The scale, right?
Yeah.
We're talking like one $50 million deal, a couple over $35 million, two more at $25 million plus, and then three more at $10 million or more. That's not just winning, that's domination.
Wow, those are some big numbers. Tell us about their strategy, though. This whole go deeper to scale thing they've been doing, making those investments earlier in the year, seems to be working.
Yeah, playing the long game, and it's paying off. Big bets and seeing those bets, come to fruition. And it's not just random, right? These are aligned with those big global mega trends, the stuff shaping the future of tech.
You're talking AI, 5G, all that. They're not just riding the wave, they're going to be the wave.
Exactly. And their CEO, Amit Chadha, super optimistic, even hinted next year, FY26, even better than this one.
All in on growth, but what's the fuel for that optimism? Just the tech trends or something more?
It's a few things, right? You got that continued strength in AI, 5G software, industrial automation, no signs of slowing down, global forces. But also, they're making smart acquisitions, like that IntelliSwift purchase taps into some seriously hot markets.
Okay, specifics time. Mentioned a few areas where they're crushing it, but it's not all sunshine and roses, right? That mobility segment took a hit.
True. Mobility, think automotive tech. It was down 5.2% in constant currency terms. Makes sense, though. The whole sector's kind of struggling right now, economy and all that.
So mixed bag, some boom, some bust. What's going on in automotive specifically?
Well, think about it. Furloughs at OEMs, those original equipment manufacturers, project pauses, and weakness in related sectors, agriculture, construction. EV rollout's been slower than expected, too.
So basically, the whole car industry's got growing pains, and that ripples out to LTTS.
Yeah.
But even within mobility, there are bright spots, right?
Oh, for sure. Trucks and off-highway, aerospace, rail, those are all showing growth. And get this, they snagged two huge deals in this segment, despite the headwinds.
Really? Tell me more.
One's with a global Tier 1 supplier, the other's with a cutting-edge, new-age EV manufacturer. They're designing EV products, so not just surviving the shift, but leading it.
So even in a tough market, opportunity knocks. They're bullish on a mobility rebound. What's giving them that confidence?
Well, you got potential for those big consolidation deals, more spending when that happens. Plus, they're investing heavy in their own tech, like that LTTS iDrive framework for software-defined vehicles. Not waiting around, shaping the market.
Okay, so they're fighting back, finding the upside. What about sustainability? That's hot right now, even in tech.
Absolutely. And LTTS, they had a strong quarter there, 4% growth in both process and industrial offerings. A lot of clients are really, keen on making their operations more efficient and eco-friendly.
Sustainability is the word on everyone's lips these days,
All
right?
right.
But is it just talk, or are they inking deals in this space?
Oh, they're inking deals, and big ones. Their leadership talked about a strong pipeline, particularly those $20 million plus deals. They signed a big one with a U.S.-based oil and gas company, helping them design and develop new software.
Oil and gas and sustainability. That's an interesting combo.
Right. It's like they're helping these traditional energy companies transform, adapt to this world that's more and more focused on renewable energy sources. It's not just about being green, it's about making it happen.
Yeah, that's a really cool angle. It's not just green. It's helping companies navigate that transition, a more sustainable future.
Exactly. And it's not just oil and gas. You got electric controls, microgrids, plant modernization, all sorts of industries. Companies realizing sustainability, it's not just good for the planet, it's good for business.
Sounds like LTTS is tapping into something big here. Okay, so mobility, sustainability, we got to hit their core, right? Tech segment, how are they doing in the heart of the tech world?
Tech segment had a strong rebound, 11.1% growth, driven by a few key areas. Communications, ISVs, those independent software vendors, media and medical technology, huge demand in all those areas.
Wow, that's a pretty diverse mix. Break it down a bit. What's driving that demand in each area? Seems like a lot going on.
So in communications, it's all about network performance, monetization, AI-driven automation. They got this massive $50 million deal with a global network provider using their software cloud stuff and AI frameworks, helping companies make their networks smarter, more efficient.
So they're riding that 5G wave, helping telecoms keep up with that demand, faster, more reliable networks. What about media? That's a different beast altogether.
Media is all about product development and staying ahead of the curve, right? Think streaming services, new entertainment platforms, the constant need for better content, better delivery.
Hmm.
LTTS is right in the thick of it, working on these large-scale projects to help companies innovate, stay competitive. They snagged a deal with a European media and entertainment giant, helping them design, develop, and deploy next-gen entertainment and broadband products globally.
So they're shaping how we consume entertainment. That's pretty wild. What about medical technology? What are they up to in that space?
MedTech is fascinating, right? It's all about using tech to improve healthcare, whether it's diagnostics, treatments, patient care. LTTS is focusing on quality, digital manufacturing, using what they call their Factory of the Future framework.
Factory of the future. Sounds kind of sci-fi.
Right, they're basically helping these medical device companies design, build smarter factories that can pump out high-quality products at scale. And they're winning big here, too. They got a big deal with a global healthcare OEM, helping them with compliance, remediation, supply chain optimization.
So it's not just the tech, it's the whole manufacturing process.
Right.
And what about their software-defined endoscopy solution? I remember reading about that.
Yeah, it's a great example of their innovation. Developed it with NVIDIA. It's gaining traction with both OEMs and healthcare providers. Cutting-edge stuff, changing the game for doctors, how they diagnose and treat.
Okay, so in the tech segment, they're hitting on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
Communications, media, healthcare, they really seem to have their finger on the pulse of what's happening.
Definitely. And they're not just focused on the established markets. They're also actively building a pipeline in the Middle East, particularly with those ISVs looking at opportunities in smart cities, things like safety and security, smart operations, thinking globally.
Now let's talk about their acquisition of IntelliSwift. This seems like a pretty big deal, and I'm curious to hear what it means for LTTS. It's not just about, adding another company to the portfolio, right?
Oh, it's way more strategic than that. This is about boosting their capabilities, those key areas like AI, digital, software product engineering, expanding their reach, getting into those high-growth markets.
Adding fuel to the fire, so to speak. But what exactly does IntelliSwift bring to the table?
Well, they've got an incredible client list. 4 of the top 5 hyperscalers, over 25 Fortune 500 companies. We're talking the big leagues, the companies that are shaping the digital landscape.
Hyperscalers. For those of us who aren't tech wizards, what are we talking about here?
Good point. Think of them as the giants of the internet, like your Googles, your Amazons, Microsofts. These massive data centers powering everything we do online, search, shopping, social media. They're the backbone.
Okay, that makes sense. So IntelliSwift, they already have deep connections with those players. That's huge for LTTS.
It is, and it doesn't stop there. IntelliSwift also brings expertise in those service-led ER&D sectors we talked about, retail, fintech, healthcare, areas where LTTS sees huge potential and IntelliSwift gives them a head start.
So they're not just buying a company, they're buying access, new markets, new clients, new expertise. Triple play.
Smart move. Shows they're thinking long-term, how to dominate the tech landscape.
That's all fascinating stuff. But what about the bottom line? How's all this impacting their financials, their profitability? A lot of talk about growth, deals. What about the numbers?
Oh, they're doing pretty well there, too. Their EBIT margin, that's earnings before interest and taxes, it improved by 110 basis points to 16.2% in Q3. And that's excluding the costs of the IntelliSwift acquisition.
Hold on. Basis points.
Yeah.
For those of us who don't speak finance, can you break that down?
Sure. It's just a fancy way of saying 1/100th of a percentage point. So an increase of 110 basis points, their profit margin went up 1.1%. Just a way to measure small changes in percentages.
Okay, got it. So their profit margins are looking good, even with those acquisition costs. Good sign. What's their overall financial outlook for the rest of the year?
They're projecting near 10% revenue growth, which includes that IntelliSwift bump. But even without it, they're still expecting close to 8% organic growth. Pretty impressive considering the economy, right?
It is. What about the IntelliSwift acquisition, though? How will that impact their margins going forward?
Well, they're expecting a little dip in Q4, about 150 basis points due to integration costs, brings their consolidated EBIT margin to around 15%, but they're confident it's a short-term hit for long-term gain.
So a calculated risk. Betting that IntelliSwift pays off in the long run. What are their long-term margin targets?
They're aiming for around 16.5% by Q4 of fiscal year 27 or Q1 of fiscal year 28. Consolidated EBIT margin, playing the long game. They believe this acquisition will be key to their future profitability.
It sounds like they have a clear vision and a solid plan to get there. But it's not just about the numbers, is it? They're investing in their people, in innovation as well.
Right. They're big on fostering that culture of innovation, actively filing patents, particularly in AI, and they're committed to bringing in fresh engineering grads, giving them a chance to learn and grow.
Love to hear more about that.
Yeah.
What are some of their achievements in those areas? Seems like they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk.
They are. Q3 alone, 54 new patents, brings their total to around 1,448. And get this, they've filed a whopping 174 patents related to AI and generative AI.
Wow. So they're not messing around with AI, they're all in.
Absolutely. And they're not just filing patents, they're creating spaces for innovation. They just launched this NVIDIA AI Experience Zone at their design hub in Bangalore. It's like a playground for their engineers to experiment with the latest and greatest in AI.
That's really cool. What else are they doing in AI? Seems like they have ambitious plans.
They're doing internal R&D on things like agentic AI, autonomous systems, which is basically AI that can act independently, make its own decisions. Think about that.
Sounds like something straight out of a movie, but they're doing it.
They are. They're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI. They believe it's going to be a game changer for them and for the industry.
Pretty incredible to see a company so committed to innovation, both internally and in the solutions they're developing. They're setting themselves apart, that's for sure.
I agree. They're not just trying to keep up, they're trying to be the ones everyone else is chasing.
Okay, before we move on, there was a little bit of news, a change in leadership within their investor relations team, right?
Yeah, Pinku Papan, who's been leading investor relations for the past 8 years, he's moving on to a new strategic role, heading up the integration management office for IntelliSwift.
Makes sense. Big acquisition. Need someone with experience to oversee that. So who's taking over investor relations?
Sesh Nayak is stepping into that role. Tons of experience in investor relations and treasury, so he's more than ready.
Sounds like a smooth transition. Be interesting to see what he brings to the role.
Definitely. Big shoes to fill, but I'm sure he'll do a great job.
So we've covered a lot here. Stellar financial performance, strategic acquisitions, their commitment to innovation, those new ventures in AI and sustainability. But what does it all mean for the average person? Even if you're not an investor in LTTS, what's the takeaway?
It's a great question. What's so fascinating about this deep dive is it's not just about one company. It's a window into the future of the whole tech world. LTTS is like that canary in the coal mine, showing us what's coming next, what it takes to succeed in this crazy world of constant change.
I like that analogy. So
Yeah.
what are those big takeaways, the things our listeners should be paying attention to? What are those signs of the times, so to speak?
For me, one of the biggest is that AI, it's not just hype. It's driving real business deals, changing how engineering gets done. If you're in tech, or even if you're just interested, watch what LTTS is doing with AI. They're at the forefront, and their moves could tell us where the whole industry is going.
Okay, so AI is big. What else?
Another one, sustainability. It's no longer this niche thing. It's becoming a core part of every company's strategy. LTTS, they're showing that sustainability can be a source of growth, innovation, not just a cost. And they're proving that even traditional industries, your oil and gas companies, can embrace it, find new opportunities.
It's amazing how sustainability is becoming this thread that runs through the entire tech world. It's not just about being green anymore. It's about creating a more sustainable future, period.
Exactly. And what's really exciting is that LTTS isn't just reacting to this stuff, they're shaping it, making bold bets and showing you can be profitable and purpose-driven.
So they're not chasing trends, they're creating them. That's a pretty inspiring message.
It is, and it's a message that's relevant for everybody, not just techies. It's about embracing change, pushing those boundaries, creating a better future, one innovation at a time.
That's a great note to end on. But we're not done yet. We'll be back next time to continue this deep dive into LTTS. We'll explore that human side, the people behind the numbers, what it all means for your career, the future of work.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep pushing those boundaries.
And that's a wrap for part 1 of our deep dive into LTTS. Make sure to tune in next week for part 2, where we'll continue exploring these important trends. See you then.
One thing that really struck me, going through all this was just how many deals LTTS is closing. It's not just the number, but the size of them. Big names across so many industries.
Like they're on a shopping spree, but for companies.
Yeah.
And not just luck, right? We talked about that go deeper to scale approach. Seems like that's really paying off.
Yeah, it's smart. They're making those bets on the areas that are going to grow, and they're seeing those bets turn into wins. And a lot of it's those hot topics in tech, AI, digital transformation, software-defined everything. They seem to know where things are headed.
It's almost like they have a crystal ball anticipating those trends, not just chasing them.
Well, they definitely have, a good sense of what the future holds, but it's more than that, right? It's about building those relationships with clients, understanding what they need.
So it's not just about the shiny new tech. It's about how you use it to solve problems, real-world problems for their clients.
Exactly. Like their work with that U.S. oil and gas company, remember? It wasn't just, hey, here's some software. It was helping them transform, adapt to a whole new energy world. That's where their engineering, R&D, that background, it really shines. They're not just coders, they're problem solvers.
Yeah, bring that deep technical knowledge to the table, helping companies navigate those tricky challenges. And they're not afraid to get their hands dirty in the process, right?
Oh, for sure. Like, remember that deal with that European oil and gas company, setting up that whole integrated operations center? That's not just sitting at a computer, that's bringing together all sorts of expertise,
Yeah.
using their software, their cloud stuff, working closely with the client.
Really shows how they collaborate, not just internally, but with those clients to build something complex that delivers. That collaboration thing, it's huge in tech these days.
I think it's only going to get bigger. The whole tech landscape is so interconnected now. Companies are partnering up left and right, sharing what they know, because the problems are getting so big, no one can solve them alone.
Like that partnership with NVIDIA, right?
Yeah.
To develop that software-defined endoscopy solution we were talking about.
Exactly. They realized they couldn't do it all, so they team up with the best, create something truly innovative. That's the future, I think. It's not about the lone genius anymore. It's about who you work with, who you learn from.
And speaking of partnerships, we got to talk about their acquisition of IntelliSwift. That was a bold move. How's that playing out?
It was a big one, but it's starting to pay off. This wasn't just, adding another company to the roster. It was about expanding what they can do, where they can do it, into those hot markets. And they're not just letting it sit there, they're making it work.
So they're not just waiting for the magic to happen.
No way. They've been integrating IntelliSwift, making sure the organization is right-sized, bringing in some of their own leadership, launching initiatives to boost margins, drive growth. They're thinking long-term, aiming for those mid-16% EBIT margins we talked about.
So it's a long-term investment, a key part of their future.
Definitely. And it's not just the money, right? Remember, IntelliSwift gives them that foothold in the hyperscaler world, those companies driving so much innovation. And it expands them into those service-led ER&D areas, retail, fintech, healthcare, ripe for disruption. And IntelliSwift gives them a head start.
So it's like they've created this one-stop shop for companies that want to use tech to transform, stay ahead of the game. But they're not just relying on acquisitions, they're investing heavily in their own R&D as well, right?
Oh, that's in their blood. Always exploring, always filing patents. Over 174 patents just related to AI and generative AI. They're not just keeping up, they're leading the way.
All this AI talk, it's so fascinating. They're not messing around. What are some of the things they're working on specifically?
Some really cool stuff. They're doing internal research on agentic AI and autonomous systems. Basically, AI that can act on its own, make its own decisions.
Sounds like science fiction, but it's real.
I know, right? They're pushing the boundaries and they're betting big that this stuff is going to be a game changer.
And their performance seemed to back that up. Those improving margins, those ambitious growth targets, they're doing something right.
They are nearly 10% revenue growth, even with that slowdown in automotive. Aiming for those healthy margins. It shows they're executing, they're delivering.
What's interesting is how they balance that focus on the cutting-edge tech with, a real understanding of the business side. It's not just about cool gadgets, it's about solving problems, making a difference.
Yeah, that's what makes them unique. They've got the brains, the vision, and they genuinely care about their clients' success. And they're not forgetting about the future either, bringing in all those new grads.
That's a good point. It's not just about the bottom line, it's about the future of the industry. The more we learned about LTTS, the more it seems like they're not just a company, they're like a snapshot of the whole tech world.
Yeah.
The innovation, the collaboration, the potential, it's all there.
I couldn't agree more. Their story is a story of ambition, of adaptability, embracing the unknown.
And that's what makes it so compelling. It's not just about numbers and deals, it's about human ingenuity, how tech can change the world.
Hmm.
But we've covered a lot in this episode. Maybe it's time for a little break.
Yeah, good idea. We'll be back next week for the final part of this deep dive. We'll wrap everything up, try to draw some key takeaways for everyone listening.
So make sure to tune in as we explore what LTTS's journey means for you for the future of work. See you next time. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Last couple episodes, we've been all about LTTS, that Q3 earnings call. Financials, strategies, trying to figure out what makes them tick.
Yeah, covered a lot of ground, their deals, acquisitions, the whole innovation talent thing.
So now we got to step back, right? Connect the dots. What were the big takeaways for you? The aha moments.
For me, it's that LTTS, they're not just reacting, they're shaping the change. They're not like riding the wave, they're building the surfboard.
I like that. That's a good one. It really shows how proactive they are, right? They're not just following trends, they're ahead of them. Investing in the stuff that's going to matter, building the expertise.
Yeah, digital transformation, that whole software-defined everything. They get it, they see where things are going.
And they're backing it up, too. The R&D, patents, those partnerships like NVIDIA.
That IntelliSwift acquisition, that's another example, right? They didn't wait around for some.
Yeah, the work they're doing, oil and gas, manufacturing, healthcare, it shows they can apply that expertise across the board.
And it's not just, heads down, coding all day. They build relationships, they collaborate, they understand the business side of things.
That integrated operations center project, perfect example. Bringing together different teams, working closely with the client, delivering a solution that's more than just lines of code.
It's about understanding and delivering, right?
Totally. And they're doing all this and still performing financially. That revenue growth, the margins, impressive stuff.
And they're optimistic about the rest of the year, so it seems like they're on track to keep it up.
So what's the message for our listeners? What can they take away from all this? Apply it to their own work, their careers.
Well, I think one big one is you can't just sit back and relax, right? The world's changing too fast. Got to be learning, adapting, staying ahead.
It's like if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind.
Exactly. LTTS, they get that. They're willing to experiment, to take chances, invest in the future, even when it's uncertain.
That's a good lesson for anyone, entrepreneurs, students, even seasoned professionals.
And the other thing, collaboration. It's more important than ever. You can't do it all yourself. The problems are too big. You got to work together, share knowledge, build those partnerships.
LTTS shows that, right? The NVIDIA partnership, IntelliSwift, even that Operations Center project. Yeah. It's all about working together to achieve those big goals.
We can do so much more together than alone, that's for sure.
And one last thing I want to emphasize, technology. It's not just about the gadgets, it's about making a difference.
LTTS gets that. They're using tech to address real challenges, climate change, healthcare, even economic inequality.
It's inspiring, right? Technology as a force for good. Anyone can make a difference.
So to sum it all up, I think the message is be bold, be curious, and be collaborative. Embrace the future, even the uncertainty. You have the power to shape the world.
Beautifully said. LTTS shows us what's possible.
Human ingenuity, the power of technology, it's pretty amazing.
It has been a fascinating deep dive into their world. So much to learn from their journey.
Hopefully it sparked some ideas for our listeners, inspired them to innovate and explore.
That's what we hope for. So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep pushing those boundaries.
And remember, the future belongs to those who dream big and go after it.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another exploration of, well, whatever catches our attention.